Hi, today I'm going to be going into some basic concepts in Python. I'm going to be talking about these terms in some pretty layman's terms, and I will be doing that for you guys. This isn't going to be a pretty deep dive, but let's just get right into it, I suppose. Alrighty. So what do we have first of all in Python? Well, if you want to do stuff, you're going to need variables. Variables are a lot of different things. Namely, it's things like 1, 2, and I'll use this as an example, Naruto. That's what I've been watching on Netflix, and I can explain some basic code concepts using Naruto and Sasuke, two of the main characters from that. So we have two different kinds of variables here. We have strings, which are made of letters and such, and we have integers, number values here. There are other kinds of number values, but I don't really need to dive into those. Like another kind of number value would be if you added decimals to the 1, that would make it a float, and you have to use different things if you're dealing with that in comparison to a normal integer. But I'm not going to get into that because it doesn't really apply to what I'm going to show you here today. But we have strings and integers. And you can assign values to either of these in order to make your code do things a lot deeper down the line. So, to illustrate a little bit about Python, I'm going to be writing a pretty basic if-then statement. Now, what is an if-then statement? An if-then statement is essentially a check on the values of variables. And the uses of this is really far-reaching. Like a lot of the pretty important things can be done using these checks just to make sure that something has happened in order to make your code do something else as a result of this. So let's get right into it. So first of all, with the if-then statement, you have the if. If we can put this in proper syntax as well as a little layman's here. But if Naruto, this is going to be in proper syntax. If Naruto, this here, is greater than Sasuke, so like Naruto's power, force A, then Naruto now this could be like another variable that's assigned. So say earlier down the line you could have a code that assigns a value to Naruto based on some other if-then statement, which would make, let's just say, his value 5. And you could all do the exact same thing for Sasuke, except maybe his value is 4. And then, if that's true, then Naruto wins. And this could just be like a number that's assigned to this value here. So we could just say that this is like 10. That may make conflictions earlier and later down the line. If the code got to 10, it would cause a lot of problems with that number. So I would use a different thing if you were actually making the code, but it applies in this situation here. And this is just your basic if-then statement. There is another thing you can do with this, which is to add in an else. And this is basically saying if this whole thing is not true. So you could say, if Naruto is not greater than Sasuke, then instead of it printing this or displaying this, you could go to an else. And there you go. If this isn't true, then it will display Sasuke wins. And this isn't necessarily imperfect syntax, I would say. There's way better ways to put this. But it does apply what I know about if-then statements into a paper form. There's not really much else to say here. This is a pretty good representation of how an if-then statement works. If, you added in a print command before this else, like a print right here, then you could say print this, or you could say print this, and then it would give you this or this in your terminal menu, whatever you decided to use. But yeah, that's a pretty good representation of some very baseline knowledge of this and just how it works in general. So I hope if anybody views this that it helps them. Peace out, people.